Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya. And thank you all so much for the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. I see a lot of their videos already flying around saying that I know that they are going to be blamed for her losing and all that Palestinians. I keep asking, are you people not tired of being on the news like all the time, looking for something to say? I mean, you all say that you are not going to vote for her, and you did not vote for her. How come you all are like screaming out that Trump won, that it's going to really be hard for you people, like you did not know before. What were you expecting? That it's going to be, feast of Passover, like everybody's going to come and dine, eat as much as they can, and no. So you see this particular one, you all are going to sit it out. Black people, sit that out. Sincerely speaking. Now, I love the fact that a lot is like super unfolding. I love the fact that the drama is about to start because some people absolutely do not understand what is going on. They feel like it's a child's play. They feel like, they can come out and shit on people. See, black women, a very big shout out to you people. You all fought so hard. I can see how you all voted. It's really amazing. I did not sleep yesterday. I was awake watching different news and all that because I needed to be updated and know what is going on. And the chat also says it all, that you all came all out. You know what? Let's get into this.
Kamala Harris is not going to be the next president of the United States. So let's talk about that proverbial elephant in the room. As somebody who voted for her, Kamala Harris ran a bad campaign. And with the help of a little sabotage from Biden and members of her own party, it cost her the election. And as much as I cannot stand Jill Stein, third party voters had nothing to do with it. Arab American voters had nothing to do with it. Muslim voters had nothing to do with it. Kamala Harris lost entirely on her own merits. This entire campaign mirrored the hubris of the Clinton campaign in 2016. And once again, we have Donald Trump as a consequence to that ego. Because Harris chose not to listen to the American people, her literal own voter base, and instead chose to move further and further right. And ultimately, her refusal to distance herself from Biden's policies and her support of the genocide cost her the election. Now that all of that is out of the way, though, there is something I want y'all to realize about this election. Republicans did not just take the presidency, they took Congress, and they'll take the Supreme Court too. We are on the precipice of the rise of this alt-right nationalistic America. With the Senate majority, the presidency, and the potential to appoint 2 new Supreme Court justices, this election has consequences well beyond Trump's 4-year term. We have literally decided our own future, and this will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We have opened the door to fascism and given Donald Trump the keys.
Interesting. We are blaming third-party voters now, not the, I don't know, over 50% of white people that voted for Trump. Again, for the third time in a row. Not blaming the majority of men voting for Trump. We're not blaming Trump supporters. We're not blaming people that didn't vote at all. We are blaming third-party voters who altogether make up 1.4% of the fucking popular vote when Kamala is behind 3.8%. Even if all of the third-party voters voted for Kamala, she still would have lost to Trump. No accountability to the Democrats. No accountability to Kamala, like you guys have been doing for over a year. Love it. Love the lateral violence. These third-party voters who have made it clear for over a year that they weren't going to vote for genocide, and you're surprised that they didn't vote for genocide. But again, they weren't the cause of Kamala losing. For a bunch of liberals that like to yell at leftists about how the government works and how the president can't do all of these things, you guys sure don't know how elections work. No, there's a lot of factors that went into Kamala losing, the ones that I have named before, especially the people that didn't go out to vote. And what were you guys doing for an entire year? Oh wait, yelling at pro-Palestine protesters, defending politicians. Not sorry for not being as disappointed or surprised at the results. This is the United States of America. Are you surprised? Now the question is, what the fuck are you gonna do? Now that Trump is president, will you start actually caring now?
I can't wait for liberals to start blaming everyone except Kamala and the other Democrats for losing what could have been one of the easiest elections of all time. You mean to tell me that aligning yourself more with Republicans and the likes of Liz Cheney isn't popular enough and isn't going to get progressives to vote for you? You mean to tell me that genociding a group of people, failing to show any empathy about it, and saying that you will continue to do so will not win you the election? Do you mean to tell me that the constant dehumanization of Arabs and Muslims all over the world isn't going to make that very same group of people vote for you? Do you mean to tell me that taking the same stance on climate change and immigration as Republicans in 2016 isn't going to make you very popular among leftists? Do you mean to tell me that sending Monica Lewinsky's ex to say that actually Arabs do indeed deserve to die isn't going to make you popular enough within Arab and Muslim groups? No, but sure, it's the people who voted for third parties that made Kamala lose this election, not her incompetency.
I am really disappointed in America tonight. I really am. We are not the United States. We are clearly the divided states of America, and it is disgusting to see. And what's the point of having laws? What's the point of having rules? What's the point of being the nice guy if we reward the bully, we reward the hate, and we reward the division that someone brings? Why should the nice guy always be the nicest when the bully gets to say whatever and do whatever they want and they get rewarded in America? Hey, you know what? If he does win, I am very happy to say that I will never vote again in American politics. And I am very glad that I voted for the last time for Kamala Harris. What will be the point going forward? There will be no hope. There will be no future. And this country is going to enter a very dark, dark era.
So we've been talking about marginalized communities and the history of voting. Today, let's talk about Black women and the history of voting. Okay, Black women have played an active role in the struggle for universal suffrage. They participated in political meetings and organized political societies. Black women attended political conventions at their local churches where they planned strategies to gain the right to vote. Despite their hard work, many people didn't listen to them, many people being Black men and Black women. They usually led civil rights organizations and set the agenda. They often excluded Black women from their organizations and activities. Perfect example. The National American Women's Suffrage Association prevented Black women from attending their conventions. Black women often had to march separately from white women in suffrage parades. The 1913 Women's Suffrage Parade in Washington, D.C. forced Black women to march in the back instead of with women representing their state. Ida B. Wells was the exception. She waited until the Illinois contingency passed by and joined those women. And then there was Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. They wrote History of Women's Suffrage in the 1880s, and they featured white suffragists while largely ignoring the contributions of Black suffragists, even though they played an important role in getting the 15th and 19th Amendments passed. When it originally came to the passage of the suffrage amendment, Black women found themselves pulled in two directions. Black men wanted their support in fighting racial discrimination and prejudice, while white women wanted them to help change the inferior status of women in American society. Anthony and Stanton thought it was an outrage that newly freed, uneducated black men should be able to vote before middle-class, educated white women such as themselves. Ellen Frances Harper replied, "When it was a question of race, I let the lesser question of sex go. But the white women all go for sex, letting race occupy a minor position." The 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution, ratified on February 3, 1870, prohibits the federal government and states from denying the right to vote to citizens based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Suffragette Mary Ann Shadd Cary spoke in support of the 15th Amendment, but was also critical of it as it did not give women the right to vote. Sojourner Truth argued that black women would continue to face discrimination and prejudice unless their voices were uplifted like those of black men. The fight continued to get women the right to vote, but white women excluded black women from those efforts. In a speech delivered at the 1873 American Woman Suffrage Association, AWSA convention, the prominent black suffragist Frances Ellen Watkins Harper articulated a view that was widely held among black women, that as much as white women need the ballot, colored women need it more. Black women remained politically active, walking to the polls with their husbands and partners, helping them decide on who to vote for, and they continued to work toward obtaining the right to vote for women. Black suffragettes like Nannie Helen Burroughs wrote and spoke about the need for black and white women to cooperate to achieve the right to vote. Black women worked with mainstream suffragettes and organizations like the National American Women Suffrage Association. Of course, mainstream organizations ignored the challenges faced by black women due to race, like negative stereotypes, harassment, and unequal access to jobs, housing, and education. So, you know how we do. Black women formed clubs and organizations where they could focus on the issues that affected them. In 1896, the National Association of Colored Women, NACW, provided a prominent platform to promote women's suffrage and black women's rights and equality. In 1913, Ida B. Wells Barnett organized the Chicago-based Alpha Suffrage Club. What was surprising to me was that white women actually had the audacity to ask black women what would they do with the vote. Like, really? What kind of question is that? What would you do with the vote? Okay. Black feminist leader and educator Nannie Helen Burroughs was the one who replied, what could she do without it? The audacity to ask that question. Anyways, Adelia Hunt Logan, a life member of the National American Women Suffrage Association, said that black women were awake to reforms that may be hastened by good legislation and wise administration, but where she has the ballot, she is reported as using it for the uplift of society and for the advancement of the state, because she is about community. She continued, if white American women with all their natural and acquired advantages need the ballot, how much more do black Americans, male and female, need the strong defense of a vote to help secure their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? How do you ask that question? The 19th Amendment was ratified in 1920. It says the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by the state on account of sex. After the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920, Black women, particularly the 2.2 million Black women living in southern states, still faced several barriers. White Southerners took notice of Black female activists organizing themselves for suffrage. Black women were targeted by a number of disenfranchisement methods. These included having to wait in line for up to 12 hours to register to vote. In the South, Black women faced the most severe obstacles to voting. These obstacles included bodily harm and the fabricated charges designed to land them in jail if they attempted to vote. Because this is Jim Crow era. Now, in some places, Black women triumphed. They triumphed in registering to vote in important numbers. In Frederick, Maryland, 75% of Black women planned to register. In Stoughton, Virginia, the local newspaper noted those Black women who registered by name, and at least on one day, they outnumbered white women 18-1. In Wilmington, Delaware, Black women were early to the registrar's office. In Chatham County, Georgia, the courthouse was stormed by Negro women who wanted to put their names on the registration books, and this is according to news reports. In Asheville, North Carolina, women participated in a mass meeting and then appeared at the various polling places in the city, and nearly 100 were registered. Their presence, it was reported, came as a surprise to Democrats. I don't know why they were surprised. Black women have been wanting to vote since Blacks attained freedom in 1865. In Richmond, Virginia, a fracas followed when Black women outnumbered white 3-1 at a registrar's office. The official in charge underscored the sense that Black women were welcome when, in response to the demand, he called upon police to keep the applicants in line according to Jim Crow rules. Whites and Black women were separated. It's still the South. They still had to abide by Jim Crow rules. However, in other places, they were thwarted. Their numbers in Kent County, Delaware, were unusually large, the Wilmington News Journal reported, but officials refused Black women who failed to comply with the constitutional tests, literacy comprehension tests. In Jefferson County, Alabama, laws stymied Black women when they set out to register, and some blamed Black leaders who themselves could not navigate the maze of requirements. In Huntsville, Alabama, the Nashville Tennessean explained, only a half dozen Black women were among the 1,445 who registered, and the explanation was clear. Officials applied practically the same rules of qualification to women as are applied to colored men. Worried that Black women might manage to register, state lawmakers went so far as to change laws to keep the doors locked shut. In Mississippi, rule makers changed poll taxes to require the same poll tax of $2 of women as now required of men, the Vicksburg Herald said. It was no secret that this change was important, vital even, to those who feared that the old law would permit Negro women to register without being required to pay a poll tax. In Savannah, Georgia, officials imposed the letter of the law, concluding that although many Negro women have registered here since the suffrage amendment became effective, the election judge ruled that they were not entitled to vote because of a state law which requires registration 6 months before an election, according to news reports. This ruling meant that no woman in the state of Georgia could vote. Too little time had passed between the ratification of the 19th Amendment and Election Day. But this was a reading of the law meant to suppress black women's votes because no white women presented themselves at the polls. So despite the fact that the 19th Amendment had passed, only black women had presented themselves at the polls. White women did not. Now, black women reached out to Alice Paul and the National Women's Party only to be rebuffed. With the ratification of the 19th Amendment, the National Women's Party felt that its work was done. After all, white women had the right to vote. Rather than continue to work toward women's full and free access to the polls, the NWP declared its work completed and then folded. Black women, particularly those in the South, would not be able to vote without hindrance until 1965. That comes with the 24th Amendment in 1964 that did away with the poll tax, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that did away with the literacy and comprehension tests and the residency requirement and any other test used to disenfranchise blacks. No thanks to white women.
This is all I got from this video. And yeah, you know why I decided to add this here? I added it because some people really do not understand. Looking at this chat, the election chat, that will tell you a whole lot. And I already have been screaming this since, I don't know if you all remember, there was a time we brought Mama Todd here. I mean, that all of a sudden, okay, the people said that she's supporting Trump, and then she said no, that she's supporting Blue, right? I said something that a majority of them will come out to tell you. I am not telling you that she's probably this person, but I'm using her as an example. That some of them will come out to tell you that this is who I am supporting, but they go to the polling unit and do otherwise. Black women have really been at the forefront. Yeah, let me just recognize Black women. I want to tell you all that you all are super strong. You all are amazing. You all are sweet. You all are strong. You have been pulling it from the onset to this very moment. You have carried a lot of people back to back. You have like strengthened, encouraged, like fought for so many people. You all did it effortless. I don't know how you did it, but you all did it with grace. And look at where you are. I mean, from what she said, you can absolutely understand that it did not start today. She said Black women have always been there for minorities and every other person from the beginning to this very moment. Like during the period they were fighting for their rights to be able to vote, you could actually hear her say that white women were asking them, what do you need that for? And I remember that, I mean, I love the fact that I got into politics, you know. I knew politics before, but I wasn't talking about it. I just like probably discuss it with probably if there is need for that. But I was really not into it. But I love the fact that I also got into it right now because it's really an eye opener. Because I mean, you get to learn and hear other people's opinion and know what is also happening beyond your own border. So I've been also able to learn from Black women the struggles, the fight they had to keep on, and how everybody every day think that there is no need for a Black woman or a Black person to stand up or to do anything. Why? Because they feel like you do not worth it or it is not meant for you. Back then, they were asking them, what do you need that for? I mean, you all were not supposed to vote. I mean, go and say you do not have any right. It is our right to do this. It is our right to do that. Thank goodness that Civil Rights Act eventually came. You all fought for it. And also help other people do this. Right? It is really hard. I don't know how I feel, but it is hard seeing how far you all have fought and you all are fighting for. I mean, I don't think there is more you all are fighting for aside from a safe space and also dismantle the system that has been oppressing Black people back to back. Nothing more than that. Equality. That is mostly what you all have been fighting for. But to some people, you are not supposed to enjoy anything. Why? Because of who you are or because of how you are. It is just our duty, or it is just us that is supposed to enjoy it. I remember sometimes I never knew. It was during this election that a lot started unfolding that I was able to know that back then, I think in Alabama and in Nashville and in Mississippi, I stand to be corrected if I am not correct. I don't know it all, right? All these places, I don't know if Tennessee is also involved, but I know Mississippi, I know probably Nashville, Alabama, right? Those places and some other places are where a woman cannot vote without paying tax for voting, and other people do not pay for tax. So it means I am going to give you your right, and I will also look for a way to press you so you don't use that right. Because tell me, back then, $2, how many people could afford that? A lot of people, people are also fighting to leave. So it means some will vote, some will not vote. And you all fought so hard to this very moment. People are out there questioning your strength, questioning who you choose to vote for, questioning why you are voting for this person. And Palestinians, I see a lot of them coming out to say that they are going to be blamed for also for Kamala Harris not winning. See, nobody is going to blame you because at this point in time, I love the fact that the election has come to an end. Black women or black people in general are at peace. Nobody will wake up tomorrow to say that, at least you all have already known your fate. You already know what it's going to happen and what it's not going to happen, right? And everybody will all sit it out, especially you people, right? And the fact that some of them kept saying, how could you see all these people with platforms, some Palestinians with platforms. You've been advocating on your this thing that there is no need to probably vote for. You've been advocating for Justine or Justines to win or to, like them, they wanted to vote for her. And then in the end, you've already told other people or convinced other people to vote for her. And in the end, you are coming out to tell us that in as much as everything you have that, but you also voted for blue. You are such a liar. You are a liar. Nobody is going to believe you because you know within yourself that you are lying. You did not vote for anybody. And for those that said that because they voted third party and those that did not also vote, it is you that you did. You did not do anybody. In the end, everybody will sit in it. Some of you do not even have move and do not have transfer. Some of you cannot even leave your country where you are at this point in time. Why? Because you're home. It's somehow not like it's burning. And they think that the person coming in is going to help them, make it better. Trust me, they will sell and sell everything. And you all already know that. But some of you choose not to use your initiative to understand what is ahead of you. But thank God the election has come and gone. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.